Today we've got an EU2000. We're going to go ahead and show you how to clean the carburetor. First thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this cover here. Maybe. Once the cover is removed, we're going to remove the air filter cover. We're going to pull the bottom foam piece out. We're going to remove this bolt and these two nuts. Remove the last nut here with our 8mm or 5/16 nut driver, and then we're going to pull this hose off right here. There we go. And the air filter assembly will just come right off. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is remove this fuel line. There we go. So remove that. We'll remove this hose. Okay, come here, gasket. I guess we'll remove this gasket first. Then we'll remove this hose here. And remove this hose. Then we'll pop this off. And then there's two clips, one here and one on the back side. So you kind of pinch and pop in that cover. Those two are what we're pushing on. Pull that cover off, and then we can unplug this wire right here, pull it out of the way, and now we have our carburetor off. Okay, we're at the bench. We're going to undo two screws on the top here to remove the control assembly. And before we pull this off, we are going to pay attention to the throttle here, and there is a little spring right here. As you pull that open, that spring's going to want to come off. And there it is. You don't want that flying off anywhere. Okay, now we're going to undo the bolt on the bottom that holds the float in place. Just going to keep that on the rag. Give this a nice little tap. And then I like to smell the fuel to make sure that, yeah, that smells really bad and old. Anyway, yeah. So, this doesn't look bad as far as carburetors go. Gas is a little yellow and it smells awful. Next we're going to pull out the main jet and the emulsion tube. There's the jet right there. And sometimes, yeah, that's completely plugged. We'll clean that. And that emulsion tube, we'll reach in and push down on it. It popped. Oh, come on. Maybe. Get in there with a pick. Give us some. There we go. Haha. Couple of gentle taps. And holding that up to the light, we can see there's one hole there. Yeah. We should be able to see through a few holes there. Through there. Okay, well, we'll clean that up. Now the idle circuit. We'll rotate the throttle out of the way. Pay attention to how many screws this takes before it stops moving. Half, one, half, 2, about 2 screws. Okay, once you've got the idle jet out, this is your stripped down carburetor. I'm going to show you today how to clean it out with just a can of carb cleaner. So first things we're going to do, shoot it down through the hole there. Make sure we're getting good flow through here. The fuel travels from the inside here. It goes over, down this channel, and into this chamber here. If this passageway is plugged up, your generator will surge and not idle properly if that's plugged up. So again, just make sure you got good flow there. We're going to check all the passages right here. Getting good flow there. And we'll check this side here. That makes sure. Now we'll just kind of hit it and make sure that this is clean right in through here. Yeah. That way. As well as that air overflow passage there. And you can kind of hit the outside of the carburetor. Anyway, just make sure the outside of the carburetor is clean as well. And it looks like we're ready to check the jets. Okay, next we're going to clean out the main jet. I'm using Honda's official jet cleaning tool. If you don't have one of these, you can use a lot of things. Any small type of wire that will fit through this hole that we're going to be pushing this through will work. What we're going to do is just kind of go through and make sure we can find ones that fit. Kind of move it back and forth. Just kind of knock as much as the, blow it out a little, knock as much as the crap out as we can. Again, if you can't find one of these, a torch tip cleaner works, but they've got abrasive edges on them, so either cut those off and go past those so you're not oblong or wearing out this hole, or be super careful when you're doing it. But in a pinch, I mean, you know, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, or, you know, stuck at a campground or something, and you need to clean your carburetor, I mean, you do what you got to do. Now this wire right here is off of a wire wheel on a grinder I have, and it fits perfect inside. I don't know if you guys can see that wire there, but it fits perfect inside of there, and I'm pushing it up through the bottom. That hole needs to be clear as well. So again, we'll take some carb cleaner. We can see it shooting out really good there. So now we can assemble that, and that just pushes down in, and there we go. Okay, I'm going to fill this until it starts moving. Now we're moving right there now. Half, 1, half, 2. So now our idle should be set pretty close. Now the emulsion tube. Clean the outside of it off. Hold that up to the light and see what we can see. I don't know. Let's grab our wire here. Okay, we're going to take our same small wire and just push it through. Take this wire and push it through all of these little holes right here. So that should go all the way through. And I'm just going to go up that line and make sure I can get it through all of them. Okay, there's the last one. Now, I don't know, yeah. Looks like I can see it through there. Hopefully you can see through all those now. Okay. Alright, Alright, to assemble the emulsion tube into the carburetor, the long elongated part here goes in first. The flat part here is what the main jet butts up against. So that goes in there. Our main jet. Now you want to make sure the threads stick out. Do a quick wipe down of the screwdriver and go ahead and tighten that up. Okay. Now we can turn our attention to the bowl. Hose that down a little bit. Kind of clean that out best we can. Again, any little piece of dirt or anything that gets in here has a tendency to clog up these passageways. So alright, can reassemble this here. Okay, I'm just going to check on the float by blowing onto the thing here. So now we can put our bowl back on. Now, fuel comes in here. This is the front. So that's going to point that direction to the air coming in. So fuel comes in, air, air. That's how that sits. There's that. Now make sure that the bolt here doesn't have any crap on the bottom of that. Any old fuel or nasty junk. Tighten that down. Now, for the fun part here. Okay, this will slide off of here. You can put your spring on it very carefully. Push that together. Put that down like that. So now our spring's in place and our adapter for the motor that sits on top of the carburetor is ready. So you do want to make sure everything is moving freely. Now that we have made sure that our throttle is moving free, nice and free, we can reassemble the motor back on top of everything. Now, sometimes if this motor's out of whack right here like this and that, you have to grab that motor, twist it, and get it close so that you can get that to line up, that to line up, and that to line up. So now you're good to go and everything's great, and you can feel that that resistance of that motor when you're moving that back and forth. Okay, now we can assemble this here. Maybe. Okay, now the screws go back in. And we head back to the generator. Okay, now we're back here at the generator. To reassemble, we simply make sure the choke's pointing in the right direction. Make sure our gasket's still good. Slide that into place there. First we're going to start with our wire, just the opposite of what we did before. We're going to plug the wire in, route it up over, and clamp it back through. We're going to assemble the top cover on. I'm gonna just get that top cover assembled on now here. There we go. That should be in place now. Now we're going to pull out all the hoses that could get pinched as we slide that in place. Clip our back air back on. I'm going to leave this off for just a second. We're going to put our other hose there and find, there it is, this hose here. Okay, now this generator, I'm going to add some fresh fuel. Well, I'm going to drain the fuel out, add some fresh fuel, and then I'll show you how to prime this. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, we're back. I drained all the fuel out of here. I added some fresh stuff, but there's still some fuel in the fuel lines and in the fuel pump that you can't get by just tipping it over and draining it. So we're going to turn this on. We're going to take a rag. We're going to just post that there. Put another rag down here to kind of catch the fuel, what comes out. And then we're just going to kind of pull it a couple times to let that pump out the old fuel until we get nice, fresh, clean stuff. So that's a good way. Also, you can check your fuel pump. Yeah, that fuel smells a little bit better. We'll pull a couple more pulls just to double check, make sure. So, now that we've kind of cycled some fresh fuel in, now we can plug it in. Clamp it on there. Ugh. Okay, now it's time for our gasket and our, there we go. Now next is our gasket and then our air filter assembly. Breather hose goes there. We got the two nuts. And the 1 bolt. And once this is tightened down, we can put the foam piece back in place and the cover back in place. Put your outer cover on. You know what, I'm going to check the oil while I'm here. Here's a bonus tip if you're checking the oil on these. Putting something under there to catch any oil that comes out before you remove the thing's a great idea. Okay, oil should be right there. And it's perfect. It looks like somebody may have added to this already. Okay. And then we install this outer cover. Okay. Now we'll make sure the choke's on, make sure our vent's open, make sure that's on, and make sure our cono throttle is off. Pull it a few times. Runs beautifully. Okay, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, all that junk.